Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope that you are getting excited for the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I'm filming this before the holiday, but depending on the time that this goes live, it might be during or after Thanksgiving. So nonetheless, I hope that you enjoy or enjoyed your time off. In today's video, I wanted to go over how to assess and evaluate the home inspection process. So I wanted to pick up from the perspective that you are buying, whether it's your first house or your next house. We are doing an inspection on the property, which is very wise. And I wanted to kind of walk through with you the step by step considerations so that way you can make the most informed decision. Ultimately, hopefully, before you are purchasing the property, or if you're in the midst of this right now and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this, then this is for you too. So I'm going to pull up some resources here. I got a good friend, ChatGPT, here, and been going through to kind of distill down a high level overview of the process. And then I'll share some insight. And then I also wanted to pull together, I'm a person of faith and I am newer to my faith journey. And so I'm trying to, as best I can, couple some of the concepts that we're going to talk about today with some of the things that are talked about in scripture, just so that way maybe if it's of any value to you, you will see how these things are intertwined. So, very first and foremost, why are we doing the inspection in the first place? So, the inspection is very, very important, very critical step in the home buying process. I'm always going to recommend that you take a look at doing one. These generally range depending on the provider that you're looking at. Could be anywhere from $400 to $700 for a general inspection. Sometimes there are add-on services that they will do for you, and those, will kind of add on to that cost. But generally speaking, to conduct a general inspection that's going to cover most of the bases, it's going to be between that $400 and $700 mark here in our area. But this is to understand any safety concerns, budgeting for upcoming expenses, and then just things long term maintenance that might need to be done to this property down the road. So, kind of like I mentioned from a scripture perspective, in Proverbs, by wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge, the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. So, the whole point here being that your house, quite literally and figuratively, is built upon the wisdom that you're getting from the home inspection. Right. So here's what the home inspection is actually going to evaluate. Important to emphasize that this is a visual and non invasive examination of all the major components of the home. So just to clarify, and then we'll be going over this in the next section, the inspector is not going to be ripping open the walls and taking a look at what's going on behind the walls, so to speak. This is all done from a high level inspector walking the property. Now they do have, advanced tools and the ability to do a more deeper dive than just, with your eyeballs. But nonetheless, I just want to emphasize it's not them tearing down walls and taking a look at what's going on behind them. Typically, what they're looking at is they're going to get up on the roof and assess the condition of the roof. They're going to crawl around in the attic and take a look in the attic. They're going to walk around the foundation and take a look for any potential faults or cracks or settling issues. They're going to take a look at if the property's on a crawl space, they will get into the crawl space and take a look in there. They'll look at the siding of the property, any windows and doors. And they're also going to take a look at the HVAC system, just make sure that it's working properly, the electrical panels and wiring, just make sure from a safety perspective, there's not anything going on there. They're also going to take a look at all the plumbing fixtures and water lines, just taking a look for any corrosion or leaks. And they'll look at the ventilation of the property, any drainage concerns as far as where water is maneuvering around the property, especially if there's heavy rainfall. And then just an overall safety compliance perspective. They're going to look for signs of things that are deteriorating, things that might not have been installed properly whenever they were first put in. If anything system wise is failing, any active water intrusion into the property, and any structural concerns. So that final report, it's going to be very lengthy, but it's designed to give you a very clear picture of the home's condition and potential future repairs. So just to emphasize again, they're going to be highlighting all components of the house. So what I try to advise folks is when you have that inspection report done and you're taking a look at it for the first time, it's going to be upwards of potentially 100 pages long. That's not designed to scare you. That's actually designed to give you an absolute high level overview of every single component of the house. And what I always recommend is print out the report. And then after you move into the home, keep that in that junk drawer or wherever you want to keep it. And so that way you have it as a frame of reference for the condition of certain things in the house and kind of gives you a working idea of what to prioritize as far as maintenance goes over the course of your home ownership. So We kind of already talked about this concept, but in Luke, it again mentions the idea of if you're building a house, be the person who digs deep and lays the foundation on the rock. Don't be the person who builds the house without a proper foundation, right? So the home inspection is not a pass fail test. It's not a guarantee that every issue will be identified. And that's simply just because of the nature that they're not able to totally get behind every single wall and that every single thing is going to be caught. And like it says there, it's not a pass fail. So you're not going to get a one-page report that says, yep, the house passed or yep, the house failed. You're going to get a very large report that details certain things that are working as they should, certain things that maybe will need maintained in the future. And then you'll also get actual safety concerns. Hey, something was discovered that is a safety or habitability issue that should be addressed prior to you moving into the home. I also just want to emphasize that the inspection is not a prediction of how long the systems in the house will last. They will give you general guidelines on what they call useful life. So generally speaking, you'll come across, to use an example, like an HVAC system. They will say, hey, the useful life for this system is, let's say, 20 years. Depending on how old that unit is, it will say, hey, this unit is 17 years old. The useful life is typically about 20. So you should be mindful that in the next couple of years, you might have to replace the system. From the perspective of Proverbs, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. So we are working with the inspector as an advisor to, get an idea of the house that they can see things that we don't always see. And so that's why we bring them into the fold. So normal things versus significant findings. So I kind of already highlighted this, but you're always going to find things going on with the house. It's the nature of buying anything, even if you're buying something new construction. That's a common misconception that buying a brand new home that's newly built isn't going to come with its own issues. Oftentimes there are, things that weren't installed properly during the construction of the home. And so we always need to be mindful of that too. So it's still wise to do an inspection even on a new construction home. Minor findings are going to be things along the lines of like cosmetic issues. So, for example, like there's gaps in the caulking, there's loose outlets, there's missing GFCI outlets. Some of the plumbing might have minor drips, and you might have some weather shipping that's worn out across some of the doors. Those are considered normal deferred maintenance items. Now, some of the more significant things are going to include structural cracks, movement in the foundation, roof failure. So there's an active leak in the roof or it's at its end of anticipated life, electrical hazards, anything that is in the realm of mold, chronic moisture issues, sewer line problems, so like a backup in the sewer line, or any HVAC deficiency. So if the system's not firing or working properly. So when we are actually navigating the inspection process, what we're going to focus on are the things that are related to you being able to move into the house safely. And we're going to focus less on the cosmetic concerns. The cosmetic concerns are what would be considered deferred maintenance and things that are expected with home. So after you do the home inspection and the report comes back in, the buyer and the sellers will review the findings to determine the next steps. So if you as the buyer get the report and we take a look at it together and we determine that there are, let's say, 5 things that were discovered during the inspection that have some level of safety consideration to them, what we would do is we would detail those list of deficiencies and what we're requesting repair-wise to be done. In Ohio, we call this the defect notice. Might be different depending on where you're watching this, but here in Ohio and in the Cincinnati and Dayton area, we call this the defect notice. This is a form that you and I together will fill out, making the request for repairs to the seller. Now, we can make a request for a repair if that's the way that we want to go about it. If you are more interested in actually just doing the work yourself, we actually can ask for a credit, an amount of money provided from the seller to go and do that repair yourself after the closing. Or we can, if it's something that a very common example would be if the roof comes back and the report is that the roof is failing, then what we could do is we can adjust the price to reflect the fact that the roof needs to be replaced. Or if everything is fine and dandy and you're good with the condition of the house, you could take it on as is. We submit this report to the sellers and they'll either agree to repair the major defects or offer compensation, or they can outright decline the repairs just depending on the scope and scale of what's being asked. But the goal is we're trying to find an amicable solution so that way we can keep the transaction moving forward while still addressing any major safety concerns about the house. Proverbs lists it like a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So we're trying to find an agreeable solution amongst both sides. So if you are the buyer, the headspace to stay in is to be as objective as possible. It's very easy to become overwhelmed by the length of the report. Like I said, in some cases, depending on the size of the house that you're looking at, it could be upwards of 100 pages. But it's important to remember that no home is perfect. Most items are going to have a simple or inexpensive solution to repair them. The focus really is going to be on those safety hazards, anything related to the structural integrity, any active water intrusion, or any systems that have long term value implications. I will help you in navigating from the perspective of how to discern what is considered, of highest priority from a safety perspective. And then we can discuss what it looks like together on having those issues rectified. Like I mentioned before, what I would highly advise you do is you actually print out your inspection report, keep that in a folder, and then I'll break it down by, hey, when I move in, here are the first 10 projects that we're going to tackle over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. And then maybe beyond that, hey, I know that in 5 years, I'm going to have to tackle this other project based on, the anticipated use of life for one of the systems in the house. But just don't forget, God gives us a spirit of not having fear, but power and love of self and self-control. The thing to gather from that is this is designed to be an empowering position for you. Doing the inspection is giving you the insight into the overall holistic view of the property. So embrace it from the perspective that you are going to be wiser and better for having done the inspection. Don't have so much fear about the size and the scope of what the report details. We will navigate those things together. Now, if you're on the selling side of the situation, just remember a couple of things here. Honesty and transparency are going to create a smoother transaction and smoother negotiations. So if you provide accurate disclosures in advance, that makes it easier to navigate the repair request process. Proverbs lists it like, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. And then why your agent's role is crucial is I'm going to help you understand the inspection findings, especially if you're someone who is a first-time home buyer and there's a lot of things that need to be considered. I will help you prioritize which of the items matter the most. And then I can help you determine what is the best negotiation strategy for you based on the results. I will also help you in getting connected with reputable contractors. So that way we can get an idea of estimated repair costs. And then I can help you interpret certain technical considerations on the report. And I will be the one who can manage all the communications between all the parties. So I will help you with a lot of the heavy lifting so you're not on your own when it comes to this. And the last scripture of point I have for you is two are better than one, for if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. So I am sincerely here to help you in navigating this process. So that's what I have for you today. If this is helpful for you, please do let me know. You can always email me. My email will be right there and also in the description for you. But I sincerely just want to be of value and use to you. So if you are looking to purchase your next home or sell your next home or invest in real estate here in the Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio area, I would love to connect with you. Reaching out to me via email would be the fastest way I can get back to you. But otherwise, I hope that you all have a great holiday season and looking forward to hitting your goals here in 2026. God bless. Thanks.